Let's have a look at the financial markets. We have crypto adoption. A third of all hedge funds invest in crypto. Now, I'm not sure it says how they're investing in crypto, but taking that into account when thinking about how the cryptocurrency is currently functioning, specifically HEX, there is a possibility that hedge funds may already have a share of HEX, aka cryptocurrency. Now, being a bad time in the market because US consumer sentiment slumps to record low on inflation woes. So if the US sneezes, the world catches a cold. We have the flow-on effect with low confidence, the share market dropping off, and also hedge funds involved in cryptocurrency. This is all just a theory. I haven't got any actual verified data. If anyone does, please share it. So you take that into account, understanding how the economies function. Through previous videos, I mentioned about the war economy and aggregate demand, and how basically economies try and fill the gap in their GDP, and they also basically compete with one another. This just further explains that some markets were explaining there was a surprise in the CPI increase, another hole in the market sentiment. So what does that mean? Generally, cryptocurrency, when there's more risk, people tend to not invest in things like cryptocurrency. So maybe they might prefer a certificate of deposit. Maybe they're not aware of HEX just yet. But maybe it's a risk-on asset. So when there's high risk in the market, basically you don't want to be investable. There'll be certain parameters which would allow hedge funds to be able to invest in certain cryptocurrencies. And if the risk profile is too high, they may choose not to deploy their capital, basically. Unless, of course, there is an exception and it is for some reason profitable. Like, maybe it's the best performing asset of one particular year, like 2020 or 2021, who knows. So basically, yeah, risk is risk on, risk off. Risk on, risk off is an asset, is an investment setting in which price behavior responds to the driven and is driven by the changes in investor risk tolerance. Risk on, risk off refers to changes in investment activity in response to global economic patterns. During periods when risk is perceived as low, the risk on, risk off theory states that investors tend to engage in higher risk assets. When risk is perceived to be high, which is what we're moving into right now or are already in, investors have the tendency to gravitate toward lower risk investments. Now, people are going to be trying to struggle to find yield in this particular market, I believe, except for particular businesses and things like that. But generally, if you're saving your money in the bank versus investing into a DeFi product which is paying the 40% per year, then people may choose the 40% over the lower yielding savings account in a normal everyday bank account. Because if you haven't got your money in something that's producing yield of any sort, then it's not good accounting. So what does that mean? We've got hedge funds all up in crypto. Arguably, when the risk was lower, they had cheaper money, maybe they were able to enter into various cryptocurrencies, which allowed them to pump up the prices across the board. Generally, what I would say with hedge funds is they would be looking to take money out, so they wouldn't be looking to deploy their capital and sit on it forever. They would probably want their return on investment as quick as possible. The quicker, the better. But then they could rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So this is my analysis. What I'm saying is we have cryptocurrencies right across the board. So risk is high. If there's institutional investors in here, they're going to be pulling out. They're going to be wrecking retail investors, the smaller guys. If the smaller guys, are selling on top of the larger sells. So if the big guys are dumping, the small guys dump too, it leaves the people that come out later are in an even worse position. At one stage, HEX was decorrelated, but at the moment, you can't really argue that point because it is down at this current point. There's no argument there. Again, though, this is looking at market cap and not actually how the product functions, but it's worth to take into account data points like this. I mean, I could be completely wrong. Maybe there's no large funds all up in HEX. Dumping on everyone, not dumping on everyone, but maybe there's not. We'll look at that later on Dexscreener, my analysis. So we also have, on top of the higher risk environment, things like this. We have Britain's food supply at risk. Now, what that means is basically there's closure of one of only 2 major fertilizer plants in UK, the media has reported. Now, what would that mean on top of the higher prices through the inflation already? It would pull back the supply of a particular item. So if the demand remains the same, supply is decreased, the price is going to increase. On top of the inflation, on top of the higher rates, on top of the high fuel, you have a situation, on top of the supply line concerns, you have a not the best situation. It's not the end of the world, because here in South Australia, I went to the shops and we actually bought a iceberg lettuce for about $5. So if anyone knows any fruit and veg up in Queensland, we can maybe ship these lettuces from South Australia to your guys' way for $12. Make some profit. But the price of fuel might, make that not profitable. Moving on. Again, understanding the war economy, filling the gap, one particular way of looking at the economy. We have an outgunned Ukraine. He needs more weapons fast as Russia advances. Now, I thought that the Russians were losing the war and Ukraine was going to conquer all of Russia. That was my understanding if I was to watch mainstream media news. But when you see it like this, if you look back, take a couple steps back, take a breath, have a look what's really going on over there. Both sides need to make their money in this particular area. And weapons is one of the most profitable items to make money on. Look it up. Weapons and drugs, I believe, are the top 2. I'm surprised it's not cryptocurrency. But then we've got here some good news. Are we on the verge of a cure for cancer this week? Scientists announced major breakthroughs with vaccine hopes and a new drug. Just 2 of the revolutionary treatments that give hope in our fight against the killer. So maybe we're going to get closer to that type 1 civilization. I think I was watching the Joe Rogan show the other day with Michio Kaku, a physicist, and he was saying, someone else did the calculation, we actually might be at type 0.7, and we might hit type 1 by the end of the century, 2100. So maybe we're at the beginning of some pretty cool treatments. I also noticed this one, cure for back pain, reportedly possible cure for back pain. Same with this thing here. Reportedly, researchers develop injectable gel that can repair cracks and tears in the spinal disc, relieving pain. Because I know when I hurt my back, if there was a treatment like this, I would be going straight for it. Whether or not that'll be profitable or not, or how that gets rolled out, will be another question, and we'll have to wait and see how that works. Because you know how Big Pharma likes to tend to, how do you word it? So if you're in the business of curing people, if you have an entire population of healthy people, it's probably not in your best interest to cure them all at once. Like if you're a bank and you make money off people borrowing money off you, having everyone with lots of money, it might not be in their best interest to make you, the consumer, extremely well off. Unlike HEX, unlike cryptocurrencies that are functioning, that are functional, that are finished, that are audited, etc. The spill, people. Now, for people who I guess are new to HEX and they might be going, hang on, it's gone up, it's pulled back like 93% currently. It's hovering around the 5 cent mark, which I think I saw an article this morning. it was like saying, 5-cent hex a year ago was amazing, but 5-cent hex now is just like the end of the world. It all depends on the time in the market. So if you're relatively new, chances are you might be in the red. I was going to say something relating to the number of sales people are making on this particular product. Now, I'm not criticizing anyone. Obviously, you can do whatever you want with your money. All I know is that I have probably sold, again, I'm a small player in this space, I've probably sold less than 5 times, I would say. And it was not at the peak. So if I go to sell maybe the 5th time now, the prices are drastically different. Now, this is, I think this is the one. Yeah, HEX USDC. I think it's V3. Now, yeah, V3. So we have a look. Basically, I've been sitting, watching, analyzing what's going on. Even using the Telegram, I think it's the chatbot. It lets you know when large trades are taking place. It's been pretty interesting and fascinating. I found that the size of the trades have reduced significantly, and the robot is now reporting like sales like this, for instance, like say 200k US. That's being flagged, whereas previously there were a lot larger ones. I mean, that's pretty large compared to the rest of the market, but I think even ones like smaller ones like this, like where is it? Maybe the hex that's above 200,000 hex. It's actually picking those ones up on the trades, and I was like, that's really fascinating, because a while ago, when it was higher, I was seeing larger numbers of USD value, but also larger numbers of hex that was being like transactions on the blockchain. And now basically we're seeing smaller transactions being picked up, which leads me to believe there's less action going on. You can see here also basically there's smaller purchases. Then maybe, I'm not sure, haven't dived into the particular like wallets and addresses, etc. I know there is some data out there. I'm not sure how you would actually verify it. So, I mean, it's very good quality data out there, but I haven't particularly looked at it myself. I'm unable to verify anything at this point. All I can go on is a particular analysis from a particular angle on which I look at it through my lens. So we've got here, like small little buys coming through. I'm hoping they're being put through match XYZ, but then you'll see the occasional ones that are about, I would say that's a larger one, 36,000K, 36K, sorry, 2K, yeah. You see the larger ones around the 10K range. Now, I was actually thinking about selling maybe 10K like US dollar worth of hex. Convert that over to Australian 1.4 currently. It's not too bad, but I'm like looking at the actual US dollar amount. I'm thinking that's to sell that amount at this point in time though, it's so much hex, because you look back a while ago how much it was, and it's just like, ouch, that's gonna hurt. I mean, other people in the space may not care as much, and like if they're just, say for instance they were someone who's not so friendly to the environment, to the hex environment, I guess you could call it, the ecosystem. I'm not sure how you would prove if they are actually, say, a hedge fund or some large investor like that. The hell was that? Strange. It just flashed up all that. I'm not sure if that came on screen. Alright, so yeah, like my thoughts are, if this was a case of a larger player coming into the system, who was exiting, who's basically trying to get their return on investment as soon as possible. If they got in early, they might have like doubled their investment straight away, which is like unheard of in like legacy finance. And then on top of that, they're just like getting income, drawing it all out. Now this would be a negative, in my opinion, on the HEX ecosphere, but it is part of the game, because when you look at it, for someone to enter into the market with the intent to withdraw all the money in a not in a nefarious way, but they just want their profit straight off, That's all they're looking for, is their yield, their return on asset, return on investment. If that is the case, at some point these individuals, these players, will exit the system. Arguably they might enter in. I'm not sure if they would rinse and repeat. Who knows? So what we are seeing, again, you've heard this a million times, the redistribution of wealth. From my point of view, after seeing HEX at the one Satoshi, all the way up to the all-time high, pulling back 93%, this hovering is just so sad to see. Like, it's just, it hurts me to see HEX at these levels. But a year ago, these levels, nothing wrong with these levels. But yeah, I think without repeating myself, what I'm saying is, it might not be, I'm not sure. There could be instances in here where larger players, whether or not they be affiliated to some sort of hedge fund or something like that, or whether they've got backing from who knows where, have decided to take advantage of this and sell onto the market in a sort of a repeatable manner. But yeah, again, that's up to them to do it. But I'm just saying that could be a possibility, because you're not going to get everyone in, and no one's going to sell. They're just going to hold forever. I mean, you could, but yeah, I can't. That's not likely. That's not a usable product. There's no sell button. That's crazy. I could see like a plunge protection team, and but then it's like, who's going to do this? You have like a plunge protection team, so you're not going to drop the price of HEX under a certain amount. But again, that would take a lot of work, a lot of coordination. It would be a way to squeeze out if there was anyone in the system trying to muck around with that. You could see maybe a regular pattern, someone just dumping, killing the price down. But again, eventually that's going to end. And the way the system is designed, I believe, with the T-shares, etc., if they're not, say they're liquid, they're dumping their stuff, but if they're staking, they've got the shorter stakes. I'm pretty sure it was designed where longer pays better. Literally, it says it. Larger pays better up until a point. I think Maxi being like the case in point there. And so you've got someone like that, or you've got someone putting in a large long stake or larger long stake, and then you have basically someone who's got the similar size stake, but they're just rolling it every week, every month, maybe every quarter, every year. They're not going to outperform the other players. So it's very fascinating to watch. So you could, in theory, do the same plays here as we're seeing, but you fast forward a few years, the plays will be very different. So the people selling, they won't be getting as much yield. They'll have less T-shares. It'll be more expensive to enter into the markets. It'll be less profitable for them. So in essence, they will be, what they were doing, if they're ending stakes, their ability to drive down the price will be diminishing over time, and versus a big player to come in to end their stake, they will get then a larger portion of HEX because they'll hold the more T-shares. It's pretty ingenious to watch this play out. In the short term, though, we have seen lots of selling. That's basically all it comes down to. I mean, people have held. Looking back, myself, if I had have known, maybe would have taken some profit off near the top, put some away. Lessons learnt for the future. So in the future, maybe I'm going to be doing that. What I probably will do myself, instead of taking like even an amount of near 10,000 US dollars, I'll be probably taking like just the bare minimum, like just 1,000, 2,000, just as I need it, because to sell anything at this time is just so painful. It's like 50,000 HEX, like for 2,000, not to pick on this particular transaction, just like randomly picking, but okay, 1,000, 24,000. If that was back at like 10 cents, 20 cents, 25 cents, 50 cents, who knows where it's going, 10 cents is nothing on the price on the way to 100. If you sell it now, I have a feeling that you will be upset later on. But again, it depends on the person's strategy and whether or not they just want to, as soon as they see it, dump it. That might be their strategy. That might be their agreed business plan. That might be their strategy, their business plan that they've signed on to. That might just be how it's going to play out. So that is my, hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that wasn't just rambling. I feel like it's a little bit of rambling. But yeah, just trying to point out what I'm noticing. I'm sure we're all noticing. But yeah, it's lots of, I mean, there's some pretty good buys. I mean, if I had more dry powder, oh my god, I would be buying more. But like I said, my situation, it is what it is. And I feel for the people that bought at the top. Maybe they blew their load on the top, you know, and they now be down 93%, so that's not the best. They'd probably be watching some content and be feeling lots of feelings, you know, emotional feelings. Emotions and investing do not work together, sorry to say. So it is what it is. But yeah, watching this, I mean, in the future, we shall see how a lot of these smaller buyers here, if they're new entrants, and hopefully they're new entrants into the market, they'll have some time in the market, let that shit cook, let that shit brew, and they'll probably see the same games that they'll see similar games, I believe, to what early adopters will see, you know, because founders and early adopters are the ones that get rich in cryptocurrency. People that buy at the top are probably not the ones. But yeah, but then stepping back, having a look at the market in general, we have to remember, like, Pulsechain is in the works. We have oh god, I can't remember, PulseX. We have the fork of HEX itself, so maybe the price will increase when there is any news about that. And if the price does increase, though, what I find fascinating is people who entered in currently. The ones that entered in, where were they from? Where was their capital from? What was their intention? Was their intention simply to enter in? When you enter in, you're pushing up the price. As the price gets pushed up, they're hoping to get the double, maybe a quick sell. Would have been a double negative on them because they would have pushed the price against themselves. Unless, of course, they were using limit orders, but I'm not sure. Not sure if they are. And it doesn't make sense. If you're a large investor, why wouldn't you be using limit orders? But then again, we did see that 3.5 or 3.6, whatever it was, week down to when the when some largish entity sort of pulled out their liquidity, then dumped it on the open market. So that was just insane. That is about it, people. I could probably, yeah, I just find this fascinating. I just sit here and look at these numbers all day. You sort of see it's trying to like climb back up there, you know, but then it's just like, as soon as I can imagine the figures, as soon as it becomes somewhat profitable, someone's just dumping, dump, and then someone buys up some cheap. I'm assuming it might be on limit orders, I'm not sure, and maybe limit orders dumping. When I say dumping, just generally selling. Yeah, like 6k for 126 hex. I mean, personally, I priced it in as $1. Got pretty close to the all-time high. But as soon as I saw this product, I thought, well, if it gets to $1, we all good. Be crazy. Saw it hit 1 cent. Saw it hit 10 cents. Saw it just fucking moon to like 55, 56 cents. That was crazy. There was definitely a lot less noise about this particular product, but it did make a lot of people rich, and it did cause a lot of joy upon this world. At the moment, it's a little bit of pain, but you know, no pain, no gain, as they say. But it's not over, because you know, Pulsechain's coming and there's people dumping. Hopefully they're getting squeezed. Yeah, it's like that game, I don't know if you've ever played it. It's like what is it, Wolf? It's like a card game. You have to try and figure out who's who. It's pretty interesting. Not an IQ test, but yeah, like a logical test. You have to learn how to lie to get through. But yeah, that's about it. Otherwise, I'll just let this run. Just watch it. Right, that's it. I'll close this one off. Alright, signing out.